Staring from under his peaked cap, Commissar Rickard was not impressed. But for once, it was not at the activity of the flock under his charge. He was proud of them. His men had been holding, Holy Throne had they been holding, despite all of the contents of a nightmare being thrown at them. They held, despite casualty rates of 60% and more in many regiments. They held. But it was over. The abominations they were facing had mustered, and after weeks of attrition warfare, were now pushing through. Sector 12 was folding like a deck of cards, but all knew what they were up against. All had seen the Picts. Things 10 feet tall, red, swords and spikes seemed to protrude from every angle. His men could only do so much against enemies like this. Rickard glared at Colonel Harker, but it was not a glare of disapproval, as he was so known to give. It was a stern glare of resignation. "You seem to have things under control here, Colonel. I think I'll go for a stroll with the Ogrins. I hear that they are getting fractious." The Colonel looked back sternly. "I am told Sector 12 looks ravishing at this time of year." "I had heard, but seeing is believing. Be right back." The Colonel snaps to attention and gives his most formal salute. The entire command staff follows suit as Rickard makes his way through them, already taking out his bolt pistol and checking the magazine. Walking to the arrayed lines of Ogrins outside, slab shields and mauls in hand, stock still. None moved. But each one of them seemed a ball of barely controlled tension about to burst. Rickard walks the lines, stopping at regular points to commend a mace here, a shield placement there. The vapid smiles that follow him from the collected Ogrin is sign enough. For beneath each is a clenched jaw. They know he is here to lead them. They can feel it. About time. Rickard's inspection over, he gave no formal address. He just looked at the lines of Ogrins and drew his sword, and turned his back on them, then dropped it and began to walk. Behind him, the feet of the Ogrins made the cadence of a mountain marching, the ground practically groaning under their feet as over 200 Ogrin move as one to the fore. But Rickard does not move from his position to the front, does not avail himself of the wall of protection it should give. No, for Rickard, the Emperor protects. An hour passes, and they look down on the carnage that is Sector 12, a valley leading directly to the command center and the supplies. If it falls, all is lost. Beasts of blood and fire, denizens of darkness abound. They are everywhere. The holding action has devolved into a scene from hell, as the demons of Khorne run rampant across the entire line, secluding the remaining men and women of Regiment 234 and exterminating them piecemeal. With but one word, a scream of "Charge!" Rickard charges down the hill into them, a mountain of muscle and mass behind him. Rickard dived into the first opponent, taking its head with his upward swing of chainsword, his bolter barking before his feet even touched the ground. All around him, Ogrins then crash past him, bowling over demons and then hammering them to the ground. It is a valiant effort, but doomed. The Ogrins are outmaneuvered and brought down one by one, but the game changer is the appearance of a greater demon. Its back like wings, carrying a bulk so large it could swing its axe and slice a Lehman Russ battle tank in two, before it ranks and clusters of Ogrins die, reaped by this harbinger of doom. Rickard leans on his chainsword in a brief second of respite, deactivating it so he can take in the battlefield. It is over. Or is it? A ball of fire streaks towards the demon, explodes on its face, taking off a massive horn and half of its maw. It howls in pain, a bellicose bellow of promised retribution. But more and more of these missiles hit it, each burning with a flame, a different hue from all those across the battlefield, penetrating its flesh, then exploding like bolter shot. Rickard swung around, panning the battlefield in disbelief. From nowhere. No drop pods, no teleportation displacement, no transports. They came from nowhere. Black power armor, spectral red light oozed more than shone from their helmets, all wreathed in a corona of flame akin to a spiritual burning. Their heraldry covered in the black. No insignia but the skull and the aquila could be seen. Not one drew a chainsword. None needed to do so. Their accuracy was unerring, even for Astarte Space Marines. Each shot hit a demon in a crucial spot and they exploded. Rickard felt that it was not just a bolter shell, but the flames encasing them that did as much, if not more, of the damage. When demonic flames covered them, they simply marched through them like nothing had happened. The blades of the demons seemed to pass straight through them, or just bounce off their power armor. These swarm scum did not stand a chance. From nowhere, salvation had arrived, as the Marines moved forever onwards into the Horde, annihilating everything in their path. They were all across the battlefield, all across the valley. Rickard continued to lean on his chainsword as he went down on one knee and gave a brief prayer to the God Emperor. He then rose and looked at the Ogrins around him and behind him, all looking at the enemy being pushed back. Rickard fired it up and raised his chainsword in the air for all to see. Charge! The battle for Bogner III had turned and the sector was saved from being dragged into hell. But none could find any trace of the black-clad Marines. As they appeared, they simply disappeared. But all knew who had sent these warriors in their greatest hour of need. It was their lord, their master, their god, the Emperor of mankind. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, and I wish to introduce you to the forces and factions of the Warhammer 40k universe. Today, we shall be exploring one of the most enigmatic and controversial forces in the grim darkness of the future, the Legion of the Damned. To quote, "Of all of the legends of the Imperium, one of the strangest is that of the Legion of the Damned. For those who know where to look, there are many corroborating accounts of these otherworldly warriors. Their unexpected appearances upon a desperate battlefield, and their sudden and inexplicable disappearance at the end of the battle." Inquisitor D. Meloriac, Ordo Chronos. The Legion of the Damned is a mysterious band of space marines who appears unbidden when all hope seems lost, striding forth from its hidden netherworld to bring retribution to the Imperium's foes. Once their bloody work is complete, the legionaries vanish into myth once more. They are a legend, whispered in secret by a suspicious few, that the Emperor has the loyalty of a force from beyond reality. The Legion is an army of vengeance and of flame, a brotherhood of warriors who appear at first glance to be space marines, but quickly prove to be more lethal than even those most formidable of transhuman warriors. These warriors are variously said to dwell in the spaces between this world and the realm of the war, in the hopes and dreams of desperate men, and in a pocket of reality eternally lit by the fires of hatred. Rare is the man who has witnessed the sudden violence of their attack. Rarer still, those with the strength of will to keep their sanity intact afterwards. The haunting legend of the Legion of the Damned is known across the galaxy, and even non-believers speak of such things in hushed tones. These silent warriors are space marines in appearance, their black armor adorned with images of bones and fire, yet they are not of any chapter recognized in the Imperium. Most eyewitnesses dispute even the legionaries' mortality, for an eerie glow suffuses their sable armor, and a halo of ghostly fire dances about their feet. There are many corroborating accounts of legionaries of the damned enduring firepower that would annihilate a warrior clad in tactical dreadnought Terminator armor. Among them is a report from the Kayan battle zone, where a handful of Astartes of the Legion of the Damned were witnessed walking unharmed from the volcano cannon blast that claimed 4 predators and several squads of space marines. energized blades, melter beams, and plasma volleys often passed right through them without causing the slightest harm. And on those occasions when such deadly weapons do strike home and inflict horrific damage, even then, they do not slow the legionaries in the slightest. The bolters carried by the legionaries, though in aspect no different to those borne by other space marines, discharge flaming projectiles that can pierce the strongest armor. Imperial scholars have concluded that the legionaries are able to fire far more bolts from their weapons than the ammunition capacity of their magazines would suggest. Indeed, no footage has ever been recorded of any kind of weapon reload, even in the most protracted of engagements. Nothing. Not Chaos Chosen, Rockcrete Bastion, nor boiling lava can stay the spectral wrath of the Legion of the Damned. The nature and origin of the Legion of the Damned is shrouded in mystery and myth. Some rumours suggest that they are the survivors of the lost Firehawks chapter, transmuted by the warp storm that claimed their vessel. Others implied that the Legion is an extension of the Emperor's will, time-lost saviors, or even the vengeful spirits of space marines slain in the Imperium's many wars. In the course of their investigations, several Inquisitors have tried to capture or intercept the Legion of the Damned, but all have failed. Events always inexplicably conspire to prevent the Inquisitors from getting close to their quarry, leaving them nothing more than frustrated witnesses to the event. Who or what guides the Legion of the Damned is an enigma to all save the beneficent Emperor himself. They appear only in times of great need, coalescing from the fires of a desperate battlefield to turn a disaster into victory. Regardless of the conflict, the legionaries fight with a chill precision that few mortal warriors can match, sweeping enemy positions like vengeful ghosts. Terror is their harbinger and oblivion their gift. After the battle, the Legion of the Damned departs as suddenly as it arrived, leaving only the bodies of the slain and wonder in its wake. Originally, the Legion of the Damned were envisaged as being a chapter of Space Marines that had been cursed while in the warp. The Astartes that made up the self-proclaimed Legion of the Damned were remnants of the lost Loyalist Firehawks chapter. They fight as a single unit and often appeared mysteriously to aid Imperial military forces at a moment when they are about to be overwhelmed by the foe. The Legion Space Marines were afflicted by a strange warp contagion that destroyed their mind. As it progressed, their bodies decayed physically at the cellular level, but they would grow in supernatural strength and the ability to use the power of the Empyrean against the Emperor's foes. End quote. But this was not to be the case. The old law was dropped, and I loved that issue of White Dwarf, but they were removed. It felt that they were simply too close to the death company of the Blood Angels is one reason that I heard. It seemed logical at the time. But since then, there have been other rumours. The Legion are far more spectral, appearing and disappearing, able to sustain damage that would stop literally anything, even a Custodes in its tracks. They are now seen as purely spectral beings, as proven by the Cadia incident, part of the 13th Black Crusade, when they were banished along with demons when the Necron Pillars of Blackstone were properly charged by Trazine. So they are of the warp. Also, of course, an Eldar has thrown some words at them being demons, but Eldar, which means one of two things is happening. Either they are the souls of ardently faithful Marines, as was done in the book, The Master of Mankind. The Emperor summoned spirits while in his war in the Webway. But as time has gone by, they have been given power and the ability to exist in the real world for a very brief period. They are the hand of the God Emperor, souls of doughty warriors sent back to help the people of the Imperium like angels. The other potential is that they are part of the Star Child, the Emperor Angelic. The God Emperor is forming in the warp. They are his demons of light to match the demons of darkness that are generated and still parts of the great unclean gods of chaos. But if this is the case, then the Emperor must be very, very much nearing godhood. So very near that he already has an entourage of spirits and beings at his command, as they are part of him, if this is correct. I felt it was necessary to brook this subject today, so we can move towards an entry I have planned, about the Emperor, about the Lords of Chaos, about the end of the Warhammer universe. But that will be soon, gentle listener. Soon. My last foray for this entry is simple. The Legion of the Damned has not been included in the Space Marines Codex of 2019. I had expected to find them in the Sisters of Battle Codex, but again they are missing. There are only two possibilities now in my mind. They are not Primaris and will be discontinued for a time. Or two, they are not in any codex because they will be the next new army from Games Workshop. Personally, I think that the second option is more likely. I think this as they would be magnificent models and could be attached to any marine army. Do remember that the Grey Knights and I believe Deathwatch were originally single units that could be added to an army, but now are a force unto themselves. I find the likelihood of GW dumping this magnificent idea into the bin highly unlikely. With the coming of the Emperor Angelic, I feel that perhaps a spectral army is in development. The army of the souls of the Emperor's warriors, his own demons, the Legion of the Damned. Can't wait myself. Now, I have been Voldemort, your faithful servant. I hope you have enjoyed the introduction to the Legion of the Damned. If so, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you're a regular gentle listener, then do please consider sharing or possibly supporting us on Patreon or flicking a coin to us via the donation buttons. It would be a great boon and would help to continue the work. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Tulu. Yes, I know. I shouldn't get my hopes up. It could happen, though. Well, it'd be pretty cool, don't you think? I think it would be. It would be amazing. Legion of the Damned! We could have Legion of the Damned tanks. Why not? Legion of the Damned... Well, okay, Dreadnought's pushing it a bit far. But, well, they are only spectral beings, aren't they? Yeah. You can have anything we like. Well, paint it all black and shimmery, I don't know.